From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Gulf Coast studios in New Orleans, this is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Fazende, riding shotgun as he does each and every podcast. It's Andre Johnson.
Junior.
Do not forget the Junior. Very important. Remember the JR at the end of the name. Before we get into today's content, be sure to like, to share, to rate, to review. If you are watching us on YouTube, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Get the bell notification. But when we drop that, fire content. Also, hello to the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. Glad you have found us here. Please stay here. We know a lot of you have found us here. It's a beautiful thing. So tell your friends, if you know anybody not watching the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network, for all of this program we have on this network that we started, I don't know, how long we've been in existence now?
I want to say we're about a year.
Yeah, we got to say close to a year now. So thank you, and a lot more to come. All right, Andre. Do we call this a moral victory Monday?
I feel pretty deflated after that.
I don't know. I know in a season like this, you got to search for the positives when you can get them. I guess it was better than last week's performance, but here we are, another Saints Monday, another Saints loss, this time to the Miami Dolphins, another team that, you know, that head coach had been fighting for his life, but I don't know. He's kind of won, 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5. Yeah. So maybe he's kind of got himself back to solid ground over there in Miami. I was there. I flew back in last night. Saints fall, made it exciting at the end. Wasn't a waste of a trip, but like I said, a win was a win and a loss is a loss, and they lost. But, you know, like I said, you draw positives where you can get them. So here we are, 2-10. I know y'all are sad. Officially, the Saints have been eliminated from the postseason before December actually hits. Today is the first day of December. They were actually eliminated last night. So sorry, everyone. The Saints are not going to make the playoffs this season. So obviously going to talk about the game. But first things first, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. You know, we got past the Thanksgiving weekend. That was really fun. Lots of food, lots of family, lots of fun, all leading up to a Sunday, which overall had some good football games. And the Saints-Dolphins wound up being a good one at the end. But at the beginning, you really wouldn't guess that it was going to get that way because it was ugly. Yeah,
it was ugly, and it was one of those. I was up in the press box watching, and I had a lot of the Saints front office. They were, because the visitor press box, we're all kind of in the same area, and I had them a couple sections over. You can just see, man, this is not going to be. This felt like it was not going to be a great day, and all of a sudden things turned, and there was a little bit of excitement, which is good, because that's been a little bit of a criticism of mine for the Saints team. They're not just bad, they're kind of boring. Yeah. So at least this had a little bit of excitement. Had a chance to win it at the end. They weren't able to deliver, but it is what it is. But like we've been doing after a lot of these games, because like we've made it a very clear point, and I know a lot of y'all have come to us today because you want to hear what we say about this, both for and against our usual sort of tone when it comes to this topic. You know, we want to see if the Saints have a franchise quarterback. So with every bit of information, with every data point we get, we're going to talk about it. And that's where we wanted to go with the big picture today.
Yep, Tyler Shuck finishing Sunday's game, 26 for 38, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 1 fumble, and a pick 2. Not exactly a pick 6. Doesn't actually go down on the official box score as an interception because it happened on a conversion attempt. But nonetheless, we did see Shuck get picked off. It got returned during the 2-point conversion. So looking at that game in its entirety, do we feel like Tyler Shuck helped his case or hurt his case to being the Saints franchise quarterback?
All right. This is a fun one to evaluate because Tyler Shuck, I went back and watched the network replay. And right before we got on here, I had gotten until the very last quarterback, the play before the quarterback sneak on 4th down, I fell short. So on the all-22. So I've been able to watch 2 different copies. And obviously I was at the game live in the game. And what I will say is he gave the organization a lot to evaluate, both good and bad. There were some drastic swings in his play. That was confirmed when you go back and rewatch the tape. So there's some pros and there's some cons. And then I'm going to get to my final resolution because that's what I do here. Cons. Where did he struggle? Very sluggish first half, Andre. Very sluggish first half. Part of a trend first quarter, falling behind, scoreless, no points. That trend continued. Once again, they never led at any point. Once again, they scored less than 20 offensive points. Whether or not it's play calling or it's him being a little tight to start off, once again, I felt like they were in a box too much. They were a little constricted early in the game, and that it felt like the Rams game a little bit to me in that regard. The interception he threw, the one that goes into the check mark as an actual interception, may have been the worst throw he's made since he's become a starter. It just was not a good pass. He telegraphed it. I don't know if he misread the coverage or just thought he could beat the coverage with that throw, but that corner jumped it immediately. It almost looked like the preseason interception he threw against the Chargers, where that corner completely bailed his responsibility and bolted right down on that out route. This time it was Chris Olave. So you have a bad interception, maybe his worst throw. You have a sluggish start. He was sacked 4 times, okay? I counted 3 of those sacks as I put it on him because it felt like in 3 of those 4 sacks, he had enough time to either bail or hit a check down or just throw the ball away. So 3 out of 4 sacks were on him, in my opinion. And then I counted what I call misses. What I mean by misses, it's just through the proper progression of a play, he misses an open receiver. Not throws it and misses it, just doesn't see it. And some of those plays were still positive plays, but some of those plays could have been more positive plays. I counted 4 of those where I wrote big miss, big miss, big miss. There's a throw to Devon Vele. It was back-to-back in cuts. The second one he throws, I know he's probably kicking himself right now because I'm telling you, Chris Olave was so open downfield, and it was within the progression of the play because they blitzed. They had 1 defender down. He runs the post, splits the safeties. It's wide open. You see Chris Olave do this. He does the the mailbox thing where he's wide open, and he doesn't see it. I know he's kicking himself for that. There were a couple others. That was the biggest. I counted 4 of those. You don't want a lot of those on the tape because those are big plays that you miss that could change games. I'm okay with missing from an accuracy standpoint or making a bad decision, but when you miss a wide open player, to me, that is not a good thing. So that's where it was. From the cons, I have a sluggish first half, a bad interception, 3 sacks that were on him, and I counted 4 misses. So that's 4 points where not in the good column. So you think 4, that's a lot to overcome.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. So let's go to the pros. I thought the second half just if you just turn on the tape, he was looser, he was freer, he played with a lot more confidence, a lot more swagger. It just felt like he wasn't as burdened. And then you watch some of the plays that were called. What have I always said? Space out some of those route concepts. Let's not get 4 guys running within 7 yards of the line of scrimmage. Let's layer these things here, and let's get a gunslinging quarterback with a big arm the opportunity to breathe a little bit and really utilize that big arm. I thought that really showed up in the second half again. He worked the second level incredibly well, the 11 to 20. And it wasn't just numbers to sideline. It was all over. He really read the middle of the field between the seams as good as I've ever seen him do it in this game. Those dig routes. His best throw of the game, I think it technically was right around the seam, was an outbreaker. It was on the drive right before the final touchdown to Chris Olave. I mean, he steps in and really connects on a big-time throw. That was second-level intermediate throwing was really, really good in this game. And that's got to be something Kellen Moore has got to lean into. He just has to. First time we saw a young rookie quarterback in a 2-minute situation, and he actually got 2 opportunities at it, if you really think about it. I didn't think the moment was too big for him. I thought he played well. I thought there was a string of 6 straight completions on a touchdown pass where they cut it to 19-17. The pick 2 was unfortunate. I'm putting that half on him, half on the false start. With Taliesin Fuaga, because the 2-point conversion from the 7 is a lot different than a 2-point conversion from the 2. So I'm giving both those guys at fault, but it was still a pick 2. And then the bonus drive, the throw at where they get to, they get the onside kick. He makes the money throw to win the game. I know you're going to talk about this.
Oh, yeah.
He made the money throw to win the game to Olave. He made it. Olave's got to make – that is a big-time situation on the road. Perfect throw from a rookie quarterback. You want to be wide receiver 1, that is the catch you have to make. I saw your tweet last night. I went back and rewatched it on Network. Then I rewatched it on All 22. Dude, in the big money moment, you got to make that catch if you're Chris Olave. So he was not able to make that catch. Overall, so that's played free, spaced out the concepts, worked the second level well, 2-minute drill was great, bonus drive, he was great, made some big time throws. So that is, 4 or 5 positive data points, 4 negative data points. So overall, I'm going to give Tyler Shough a passing grade. It's not going to be an A. It's not going to be a D. I settled in at C+, because last week I gave him a C, C-. I'm going to give him a C+, because I like the way he finished, and he gave his team a chance at the end. I love the physical traits. You see it. I love the physical traits. I thought he was a little bit of a mixed bag when it came to pocket presence. There were times where he broke containment, and it was a good thing. There were times where he bailed too soon, so it was a little bit of a mixed bag of a pocket presence thing. But I am not ready. Did he help himself? When you factor in the entire game, yes, he did. But I am not ready to name him the franchise quarterback yet. I still need to see a little bit more. It was a lot of swings, so I'm passing him. I think he helped himself, but no, I'm not calling him the next franchise quarterback just yet. What say you?
You gave him a C+ on the day. I gave him a B.
Oh.
It's a good thing that this game that we all love is 4 quarters. Because if you made me answer that question after the first half, I gave him a D. The first half was not good, but this was a tale of 2 halves. In the first half, he did have an interception. That was on him. He had a fumble. Sure, that's on him. 7 for 12 passing for 43 yards. In a half of football, that is not good no matter how you spin it. You can't start a game like that. The Saints lost that game 21-17. It's very hard to come back from a 16-0 deficit. And you talked about it all last week and even the week before, how the Saints have struggled in these slow starts. You're down 16-0 in Miami to the Dolphins. It's going to be very difficult for any team, let alone a team that's, 2-10 right now, to come back from a deficit like that. And when you go down like that, all of a sudden, Kellen Moore's game plan that he came into the game with, he has to adjust that. The run game that you really want to be able to lean on with a young Devin Neal, with an Evan Hull, who wasn't bad yesterday, didn't see much taste him, but you kind of have to go away from the run game to a degree when you go down 16-0 in the first half. It's very difficult to come back from that, but to his credit, he almost did. Just like you can look at 7 for 12, 43 yards, there's no excuse for that. That was bad. That is not good quarterback play. Like I said, D in the first half. I gave him an A for a second half.
Okay.
196 yards and 2 touchdowns in the second half. You put that in any quarterback stat sheet. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, you want to tell me, he threw for 200 with 2 touchdowns in a come-from-behind game in the second half? That's impressive. He showed good pocket mobility. He was money on those intermediate routes that we always talk about that he loves. He elevated talent. That's something that I talked about in the Carolina game. Now I'm looking here. Devon Vele got 8 targets, high for him here in New Orleans. He caught all 8 of them. Tyler Shough finally got Devon Vele, someone who we've been looking for 3 months to break out of his shell. Devin Neal didn't look out of place. Chris Olave was getting opportunities. Foster Moreau, Juwan Johnson, they were getting opportunities in the second half. In the second half, it started to click. It was, obviously, you don't want to be down, but when you look at the fact, rookie quarterback, it was a nasty day. The rain.
It really was.
Yeah, a horrible day for football. Down 16-0 on the road. It's rainy. You made 2 turnovers in the first half. Mentally, that can get to a young quarterback. I know Tyler Shough is older than the normal rookie, but mentally that can get to a rookie quarterback. Tyler Shough came out in the second half and he played with guts. He came back and he played really good football. And just like I can criticize him for that first half, I've got to give him credit for the way that he played in the second half. You know, showing the guts to come back from behind and give his team a chance. They were a Chris Olave drop away from snatching victory in that game. And I tweeted about it. It got a lot of, traction. You talked about it. Chris Olave. I'm not trying to kick a man while he's down. But Chris Olave is the guy who we talked about before the season. You have the most to gain this season. Chris Olave is the guy who is going to go to the Saints and want between $30 to $40 million a year because he's been wide receiver 1 since he arrived to New Orleans. He wants to get paid like a wide receiver one. He wants to get paid like Jamar, like Garrett Wilson, like Jackson Smith and Jigba will get paid, like Justin Jefferson. If you want to get paid like those guys, in that moment, you have to make that catch. And I see somebody right now typing in the comments, you take your finger off that keyboard. Do not compare this to week 1 when Juwan Johnson couldn't bring in a pass in quadruple
With 3
coverage.
guys around him, right?
This is not the same thing as Juwan Johnson not being able to haul in a pass in quadruple coverage. That was essentially man-on-man, one-on-one. I know they had a safety coming over, but look at the play. The safety was late.
He was late.
The safety does not make contact with Chris Olave until the ball is on the turf and Chris Olave is in the end zone wondering what happened. It was essentially one-on-one, and the corner that was guarding Chris Olave fell down. Chris Olave made a great adjustment in the air.
He really did.
Ball bounces off his arms. If you want to get paid like those guys I named earlier, that is a catch you have to make. So going back to Tyler Shough, did he help his case to be franchise quarterback? Yes, he did. Am I ready to call him the future of the franchise for the Saints? Not yet. I still need to see more. But at this point, you're looking for flashes. You're looking for things we can fix. When I look at the first half, I say he was bad, but we can fix that. How will he come out in the second half? He came out and he bounced back. I've been saying it ever since Shuck got the job. It's about taking your bumps, taking your lumps, and seeing if you can come back from that. We talked about the Atlanta game. He was bad in the Atlanta game. I said, I want to see how he bounces back. Can he learn from that and reach a higher plane? He did that in the second half of Miami. He gave his team a chance to win, and he made some big-time throws. The touchdown throw on the run back in the end zone to Devon Vele, that is a Tier 1 throw in the NFL. The play that will probably be forgotten, he made a big throw to Chris Olave, the play right before that.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, I thought that was the best throw of the game.
Yeah, that was money.
Yeah.
I mean, the one to Chris Olave that he dropped, money. Tyler Shough in that second half was really good. He was really bad in the first half. Give him a D in the first half, A in the second half. I averaged that out to about a B, B minus. I do think Tyler Shough helped himself, but I still do need to see more.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all kind of in the same spot. I do like that he brought a little life, and you know, that's not an easy in a 2-minute situation, and it's your first time doing it in the NFL because, you know, you're not calling plays really. You're kind of motioning, you're getting everybody lined up, and you're just, you know, doing the hand signals and all that stuff. So that can be a little chaotic. So for him to have the poise, and I actually thought it was probably where he was at his best. Yeah. I thought that was impressive. Now let's be real though, the interception was costly because if they get points right there, it's a whole different ball game. You're not going for 2. You're not at the end when you make it 19-17. At that point, you had 3. Now you're taking a lead right there after the touchdown. You're in a situation where you're in a different spot later in the game, and that's so he plays his role in that. And then now you just look at the whole offensive operation. And that really is the story. It's missing points early in the game. Yeah. That's the story of the season. That's the story of the offense. Because, look, sort of one drive, I thought the defense really gave you a heroic effort, man. I thought they really played well, holding them in the field goals, interceptions after the big sack fumble, which I'll disagree a little bit with you on that. I thought that was on Devon Vele. I thought he missed a block. That was the one sack I didn't credit or didn't blame Tyler Shough on. I thought the other 3 were on him. So you're talking about a defense that's playing well enough to, if you just had a middle-of-the-pack offense or an offense that can give you somewhere in the high teens, low 20s, you're probably looking at a team that's about 4-8 right now, 5-7 right now, which would be respectable as you head in, to the month of December. So that hasn't been the case. So that's really where the focus needs to be when you get to the offseason. And now we've officially reached the point where we are going to talk about building into the offseason, which is going to be evaluate what you have, and then that will tell me what this team needs going forward. So I thought all in all, it was an interesting game, and it was interesting being there because, at one point in the game, I thought it was an absolute snooze fest. Then all of a sudden, everybody caught life. So you got to give the quarterback his blame when he deserves it and his praise when he deserves it. And in this case, it was kind of 2 high-end parts of that equation in the exact same game because he played really bad and then really well. So a little bit of I guess you'd call it a roller coaster day for Tyler Shough. I do want to give shots out. I'm going to give out 2 game balls in this Monday. Devon Vele, welcome to the show. Welcome to the party. We've been waiting. We've had your VIP ticket waiting. Welcome to the show. Hope this is the start of many more to come. They were in sync. They were in tune with each other. He made some tough catches in traffic. He caught the 1 ball on the sideline, got the knee down. And then if that wasn't enough, he can make the great play on the touchdown where Shuck's throwing it to the back of the end zone with the mindset of, okay, I'm going to give my guy a chance, but if he doesn't get it, it's going to be incomplete. Vele has to have the presence of mind to find the ball and go get it, and he does it. And then, of course, he makes a special teams play with the onside kick. Speaking of that, the other game ball goes to Charlie Smith. Look, we've criticized Kellen Moore here. That was a gutsy call to go with Charlie Smith. Yeah. First ever NFL game, and he delivers a 56-yarder that, we watched the replay. That thing's still climbing, it feels like, as it hits the net. It hits the top of the net as it's going down. That might have been good from 65 or 70. So you got a weapon.
Those conditions.
Yeah, and it was rainy, it was windy. It was windy all weekend. So, and then obviously he executes the onside kick perfectly. So Devon Vele, Charlie Smith, I want to give out those 2 game balls from Sunday as well.
I'm going to hand out one more to the man they said was a little too old to continue playing this game at a high level, but I mean, he keeps flashing on your screen. Cam Jordan.
Oh, 94.
I mean, we could say, the team needs to move on from Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan's this, Cam Jordan's that. Cam Jordan keeps getting sacks. Tua couldn't escape Cam Jordan. 2 more sacks from Cam Jordan. We were big on Carl Granderson coming into the year. Cam Jordan's been better than Carl Granderson.
He really has.
If I really wanted to, I could probably sit here and argue Cam Jordan's been your most consistent defensive lineman all season, even more so than Brian Brzee. Chase Young obviously missed the first month or so it's hard to compare them, but Cam Jordan, he was making sacks at the beginning of the year. He was making plays in the middle of the year, and just last week he's getting 2 sacks. Shout out Cam Jordan. I would give a game ball to him.
And look, I'll say this as well. He has changed my opinion. I thought for sure, but both he and DeMario, this would be their last season. I believe they've shown enough, and they've earned enough. And this season, I don't think they would want to go out like this, with a season like this. If they want to come back on a 1-year, very team-friendly, incentive-laden contract, if I'm the Saints, I welcome them back. Those are 2 mainstays, leaders, and more importantly, they have been incredibly productive. We have not seen the drop-off from them as we've seen with some other players that have hit sort of the age wall on the offensive side of the ball. So I still think there's a place for them next year if they want to come back. And I think if you're the Saints, I think they've earned that right to come back as well. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm not ready to write it off and say they're done after this year anymore.
I agree. And now one last thing we do have to touch on. I know it's a Saints show, but we are New Orleans-based. We are football-based. We are Louisiana-based, Gulf Coast-based. And the biggest news in the state of Louisiana right now is the guy who just got introduced in Baton Rouge about 30 minutes from when we are taping this episode, Lane Kiffin, LSU's new head football coach. You've been hearing the rumors for weeks. It's finally official. Do you like the Lane Kiffin hire?
Do I like the Lane Kiffin hire? Let me just say, I don't like the state of college football right now. I don't like how a coach can literally leave on the doorstep of making a run to a national championship. And I know my school, I'm an LSU guy, obviously benefited and got the guy. I think LSU would have been perfectly fine letting him coach Ole Miss throughout the playoffs. I don't like the unlimited transfer portal. I don't like the idiotic football calendar, which I've been talking about for years. And now that this has happened, you see why. And I think there's going to be some significant changes to the calendar. But at the end of the day, with all that clears, and that will clear, we're going to talk about it for a couple weeks, but that will clear when football will start again. I think Lane Kiffin can have success. But I could also see a guy like Lane Kiffin who is a troll, seems like a guy that at times can get himself in some interesting situations. At a place like LSU where passion can get toxic really quick, that can be a lot of gas that could either explode in a good way, where it's you're running the table, you're an elite, program, and you're back to the playoffs every single year, or that can be an absolute disaster. And I will just say this: outside of Les Miles, go check the tenure of each coach in the last 25, 30 years at LSU. It's hard to get past 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I do like the hire in the sense of this. They wanted their guy. They stopped at nothing to get their guy. Verge knew who he wanted, Verge Osbury, and they got him. So in that, congratulations, LSU. I'm so curious to see how it's going to be. There's going to be so much national media at LSU this year. So congratulations. We'll see what happens.
Sometimes you need a big fish for a big pond. And LSU is one of the bigger ponds out there in college football. And Lane Kiffin was the big fish in the coaching cycle this year. I think he's a great recruiter. He's going to bring the big names here. They're saying he's going to have a lot of money to work with in the NIL system. He's going to bring the energy. I think he'll be a fit for the culture. I'm excited to see what Lane Kiffin brings to Louisiana, because at the end of the day, LSU to me is a program that, despite how great they've been, there are programs higher, the Ohio States, the Oregons, the Alabamas that are in that picture every year. LSU hasn't been to the playoffs in a while. There are teams that are a staple in the playoffs every year. I want LSU to get to that point. Hopefully Kiffin will bring them there, and I will say this. I think Ole Miss was wrong to not let that man finish his job in Oxford. You see, John Sumrall left Tulane to go to Florida. Tulane's going to let John Sumrall finish this thing out in the playoffs, because they know that's what's best for the team, that's what's best for the players, and that's what Sumrall has earned. I think Lane did the same thing. I wish Ole Miss would have let him finish that out, but they didn't. So, hey, Lane Train, welcome to Baton Rouge.
See, I think LSU would have done the exact same thing Ole Miss did today. I think LSU would have done the exact same thing. Looking up to your point, LSU is a high ceiling, low floor program. They got a massive peaks and valleys. You'd love to see them get to that consistency, whether like in Ohio State or Georgia and Alabama. All right, we got to get out of here. That was fun. Yeah. A lot of good stuff today. Busy day. All right, we got to get out of here. We'll see y'all Wednesday. For Andre Johnson Jr., I'm Sean Fazende. We'll catch you guys next time on Overtime.